Now to the trial that has shocked the world. A panel of 5 judges will sentence Gisele Pelicot this morning. Verdicts will also be delivered on 50 other men charged with raping or sexually assaulting his former wife, Gisele. Let's get more on this story. Siobhan, standing by for us this morning. We saw the queues of people waiting to get in earlier. This is such a shocking story, isn't it? What will we hear today?
Yes, and I just want to remind people before we start talking about this that this does contain distressing information. As you can see, I'm outside the court here. We've just crossed the road because we're hoping Gisele Pelicot will arrive in the next few minutes or so. We've actually seen her children entering the court in the last half an hour and some of the defendants as well. And if I just move out the way for you, James can show you that among the press there are women's rights campaigners as well. They've been booing and jeering some of the defendants that have come into court today. And to remind people the background of this case, there are 51 defendants today who are expecting verdicts. They're accused of rape and sex assault. Now, the main defendant in this trial is Gisele Pelicot, the 72-year-old now ex-husband of Gisele, and he has admitted to drugging and raping her for a period of almost a decade. And he says he also invited strangers to their house to allegedly rape her as well. Now, he said in court, "I am a rapist," and he claims all of the men that came to the house knew they were committing rape as well. Many of the defendants, though, in this trial, around 2/3, have denied the charges against them. They say they were tricked by Gisele Pelicot, who manipulated them, and they were told, they believed, some of them, that this was actually a sexual fantasy that the couple had and that they were taking part in that. But this case has really raised the temperature on the debate around rape and drugging and rape in France. So we've seen huge protests happening across the country where people have come onto the streets and demanded more is done. Now, one of the issues that they're really talking about is consent. Consent isn't currently within the French rape law. Some people are asking for that to change. But when you look, there are signs behind me, some of them saying, thank you, Gisele, for your bravery. And I've spoken to some of the women who've come here today, and they say they really feel that because she was so brave in choosing to waive her right to anonymity, in allowing these really distressing details of horrific crimes that have been committed against her to be talked about in open court, that has really meant that France as a whole can talk about this issue a lot more, and they really hope to hear change from that. Now, many are demanding that the sentences that are handed down for those who are found guilty today are the toughest ones possible, and actually prosecutors have asked for sentences totaling more than 600 years for all of those who are in court today. Gisele Pelicot facing the toughest sentence of 20 years, and as I said, he has admitted the charges against him. So we should start hearing, maybe in the next half an hour, some of the court verdicts and sentencing coming out.
While we're talking to you, we are seeing, she's so gracious, Gisele is walking with media surrounding her. I'm sure she's walking into court today to look these men in the eye. One convicted so far, as you say, are now ex-husband. 50 others facing charges. They'll find out their fate a bit later on. And Siobhan, a lot of these men lived quite close to each other. This was a very small village where this happened.
Yes, that's a really interesting fact of the case. What I'm going to do, Kay, actually, I'm just going to move out the way because you've got a better view, and I think Gisele is actually coming near to the front of the gates where we are. So I'm just going to get James to position slightly better at the front there so we can hopefully see Gisele as she walks in. You'll probably hear some applause as she gets closer because that's what's been happening here at court when she's come, for the women who have supported her over the last 4 months. And as you were saying, the men involved in this trial, what's interesting about them is there isn't any clear link, apart from the fact that many of them are from the local area. They all come from around 40 miles of Mazan, where the Pelicots lived. Now, they range from an ages from 20 to from in their 20s to in their 70s. They do a range of jobs. You can hear the clapping now, so we should be able to see Gisele coming into view now, and I'll just let you listen to the reaction.
Justice pour Gisele! Justice pour Gisele! Justice pour Gisele!
So you can hear the women here are shouting, justice for Gisele. And as we were saying, many of the men who are accused of raping her are from the local area, and they do a range of jobs. Many of them are fathers. They include, for example, firefighters, a nurse, a journalist as well. And Dominique Pelicot recruited them using a swingers website, and he was on a forum called Without Her Knowledge. And he says that he was inviting them, in their knowledge, he claims, to come to his house and rape his wife. And some of the planning was so sinister. He asked the men, for example, not to wear fragrance and not to smoke so that they didn't leave a scent when they're in their house. He asked one of the men to warm his hands on the radiator. He asked them to park around the corner as well so that people didn't get suspicious, neighbours didn't get suspicious about all the cars coming and going. And I spoke actually to a lawyer of one of the other defendants in this case, and he said that Dominique Pelicot was inviting men to the house around 3 times a week. He was drugging and raping his wife, and she had no idea. He was actually caught really by chance in 2020 because he went to a local shopping centre and he was filming up the skirts of 4 women, and a security guard spotted him, and because of that they stopped him. One of the women filed a complaint. The police started looking into Dominique Pelicot's devices, and they found 20,000 indecent images. Now here she is, you can hear the clamour now as she comes walking into the gates here. The woman who has become the face of this campaign for women's rights, and really a hero now, despite what she's had to endure, the crimes against her, which are so hideous. Those admitted by her husband. She has become a hero in France, and as I said, a face of bravery and dignity for many, many women. Now, I was actually at a protest in Paris recently, and I spoke to women in the crowd, and I think what's really interesting about this is the fact that it has mobilised women from different generations to really discuss this issue. But as I said, Kay, we are expecting some verdicts to start coming in, some sentences to start coming in now in about 15 minutes. She's in court. We've seen the defendants go in court, and this is the day where she's hoping to get justice.
Yeah, we can just see her going through the airport type security at the court there. Now she's just so dignified, and she waived her right to anonymity because she said, you know, I am not guilty of this. It's those that have done this to me that are the guilty ones. They're the ones that should feel the shame. To hear some of the allegations against 50 men and her husband who pleaded guilty.